What's this thing called?
Recent Tartarians. 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 Recent Tartarians.
In the mudflood.
Recent Tartarians. 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 Recent Tartarians.
Yes.
Live.
Yes. Pika, 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 pika. What's this thing called?
We're kind of going with the recent Tartarians. I'm getting the idea.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Yeah.
This is
Live
the
with recent
word.
Tartarians. Jason Paige and Andreas.
Recent
Tartarians.
Hey,
Recent Tartarians.
and Jason Paige. Yeah.
Recent Tartarians.
Yeah. We about to have a conversation with Andreas, Tartarians, and Jason Paige on recent Tartarians, the new video channel that he's putting up today. It has got things that you never make your mind spin around, things that you never heard before, and now we're about to get into a conversation that you never heard before on recent Tartarians. Yeah. Recent Tartarians with Jason Paige.
Recent Tartarians.
And Andre.
Recent Tartarians. All right, so let's get into it.
I crashed your computer, didn't I?
Yeah, that was
Too much energy for it. Couldn't handle it.
you just opened the whole Pokeboru just opened up into my world. That was
Pokemon portal opened up and swallowed up your computer. Your PC.
that was
your
no
MacBook.
joke.
And by the way, that's gone. If you didn't record that, that's gone forever. It's gone.
Completely brutal. That was amazing.
Mac can't handle it. Mac can't handle it. Mac can't handle it. Mac can't handle that. No way. Mac can't handle it. Mac can't handle that. No way. Mac can't handle it. Mac can't handle that. No way. Mac can't handle it. Mac can't handle that. No way.
Well, I wanted to say like introduce yourself, but I guess you beat me to the punch. This is Jason Paige, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Jason Paige, right here, live in the flesh,
feel
in
like
the digital flesh.
I feel like people still need the introduction. You know, you could be walking around Comic-Con and people still, they still need you to kind of explain to them, yeah, you've heard me all your life.
This is the brilliant thing about it. It's like a reuniting with a friend that you had that you didn't know you had, or like a friend from a dream somewhere. Although this was the dream of your imagination that underscored your Pokemon life. Some people
the weird thing about being a wizard behind the emerald curtain of Hollywood. A lot of people don't see the magic makers and the dreamers of dreams.
Yeah. It's very lonely back here. As you can see, I'm the only one behind this curtain. It's
That's
nice art. It's a nice art space here. Actually, we have 3 roommates, and it's above a sex shop.
Yeah.
I just said. So now I just clicked the Google Terms of Service, which means that I can't say anything because I haven't copywritten and claimed ownership of that music yet. So I don't own it.
That's the trick. You have
can't use anything that you don't own. It's all about possessing things that are unpossessed, that are unownable.
Dude, there's this whole problem where all of this art for the last 100 years is copywritten and you can't use so much of it.
Yeah, or else we just have to revert to 125 years ago, or whenever the copyright runs out, and use that material, which I'm involved in lots of projects that just do that intentionally because they can't get rights to anything else. Happy birthday. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh. Have a pleasant reunion with life, you know. That's there's a way to go.
I think that's one of the part of the reason mankind is that this slow expansion is because of this copyright and patent law, and just, you know, the restriction on information, on the sharing of information, of giving, you know, knowledge from one person to another, unless you pay me for it. I mean, that's really what it's all about. It's hoarding knowledge, just like we hoard everything else, which is all right in a cold, freezing winter to hoard some food, you know, to keep yourself alive. But there's an abundance of knowledge, an abundance of art, an abundance of ideas that are being hoarded, that all could have taken us to the moon and back if we ever didn't uncover that knowledge of how we got to the moon in the first place. But nobody seems to know. I think just in some protected copyright room somewhere, that's where all the information about how they made the spacecraft and did all the stuff to get up there that they don't know how to do now.
Well, it seems like everyone wants, or, you know, needs us to make that information again. It's all about open source alternatives now, making new art, new music, new science, new software that's open alternatives to it. It's like, it's cool that you're on that wave. You're making that project
new
happen.
And free, not just open, but free, and the ability to take and copy and use.
Like, you're a pretty deep guy. You've been saying that you're doing a water fast. How's that been going for you?
That's correct. I went 5 days with just distilled water that I started to stir after you reminded me and told me that documentary, because I definitely agree with that whole principle. I broke up with my food girlfriend, got to break up with the food girlfriend. It's this relationship that I didn't know I was in. Like, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, you're in a relationship with your girlfriend, but when you break up with her, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how much of my life was taken up by her. She's dominating my life from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. And while I'm sleeping, she's also right there inside of me the whole time, and then I'm, because of her.
There's so much parasites that people don't even think about, like, inside of them that control, like, wake them up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know.
Those are all related to the food girlfriend, because those guys just want some of these foods that I don't need, I don't care about at all. But the meat parasites want the meat, and the sugar parasites want the sugar, and, you know, they're fighting inside of me, and I get it that we need them. But those aren't my girlfriends. My girlfriend, those aren't the obsessive relationship. They actually protect me from the food that I'm putting in my body, the food girlfriend that I'm putting in my body.
It's funny, all these people will look at this like it's like, you know, it's magic or whatever, but it's like, it's cool you're using the relationships as a metaphor, because, you know, in the old days, they used the same exact descriptions for spirits that were, you know, like they had like being possessed by a spirit or something like that. Then they say, okay, well, now you don't have a spirit, you have a parasite, you have a toxin or something like that. But really, it's more about that relationship.
It is the relationship, and that relationship goes to my financial world. Obviously, a good percentage of my income is spent on them, which means I have to work more to create that income. 40% of my time is definitely going to be spent on going to get the food, cooking the food, cleaning up after the food. And then you've got 40 to 60, the estimates vary, of how much energy you actually spend digesting all of this food. And then, of course, there's the quality of the food and what that food is, and that has a great impact on your life, reducing your life. So not only is she killing you if you don't eat the right amount in the right times in the right places from the right sources, but you're shortening your life. You know, you're basically giving your whole life over to your food girlfriend, and really she should only exist for maybe 20% of what we have now, and that might even be less in nature. We'd have even 20% of what I eat right now is a lot for a dude, you know, 1,000 years ago roaming the plains. The average the average male, thin male, has 70 days of fat burning to do without any food. So a 5-day fast does nothing but energize you, give you lots of free time, lots of perspective. It actually helps neural pathways be connected, and your brain gets sharper, your body gets trimmer. You recognize the food in the culture and how much of our culture is devoted to food. And you think, if all of this energy were spent on other things productive, I mean, obviously they're producing food, but things that were a little more important than just satiating yourself with salt, sugar, and oil, which is basically what it is. I mean, and these are dopamine things. The people just looking for the dopamine, and the dopamine can come from our actions in the world, from how we contribute to other people's lives to make them better, not just make them fat or make them fed and, and load them with salt, sugar, and oil, basically. So now, off of the fast, I'm trying to adhere to that schedule of no salt, no sugar, and oil, and it's nearly impossible to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
unless I go and I mean, it's obviously in any processed foods, in any bag of food, in any restaurant, it's going to be like that. I can get vegetables and whole grains and fruits. That's okay, but anything that's not that is got salt, sugar, or oil in it. And so I was like, all right, well then I'm just going to eat the vegetables. But then, well, what kind of vegetables am I going to eat? And then I started researching into the vegetables and which vegetables I should be choosing from which stores and which farmers and farmers markets. And it's recommended you ask the farmers markets what's in the soils, because they're only meeting certain standards of what they can't do. They're not actually adding good things to the soil. And then we had this water discussion of what's better, inorganic minerals or organic minerals. That being inorganic minerals, just the rocks out there that the water flows over, that you can drink that wonderful spring water that I collect from the mountains of Azusa, filled with minerals that it ran over and dissolved into the water, or take those minerals out and just drink the water purely. But that water is intended to dissolve the minerals, bring that water filled with minerals to the plants. So the water has the minerals have to be in the soil in order for the plants to grow and be healthy. And our plants are like 60% less healthy than they were in 1900 because the soil has been depleted of all the minerals. So now what do you do to get the real minerals that you need from these plant sources? Because even the organic vegetables and the organic fruits don't contain the multiplicity of minerals that you get. They have 10 or 11 minerals. There's like 70 minerals.
Yeah, and those minerals are supposed to be like the plants are machines that break up those minerals to clean up the water, and then you eat the plants to get the minerals. If they take all of the parts and they break them up, you can't use any part of the system.
Totally. It's crazy. So I was like, all right, well then I'm gonna buy this good soil and this good compost, and then I'm going to add all this rock dust and all the stuff that they say that goes into the best soil to grow the best food, to then have the real, and then add my good water to it. So I'm actually giving it good water, good soil, and get these maximum, the best vegetables. Of course, that takes a garden and a gardening expertise and all the tools and all the space, and I don't have that here. So it led me to the next revelation, which I'm going to do right after this. I already went out to 2 stores today. I couldn't find it. Microgreens.
Wow.
Microgreens are little small micro dudes of lots of green vegetables. And these guys grow in a week without soil because all the nutrients are in the seed pretty much. And they're alive already. So another thing that I found out that, you want to eat something as soon as you can after it's off of the vine.
Activated.
So it's activated life force that's going on. So these microgreens, you can just literally eat them off of their own vine while they're still on the vine. I did that little experiment in a friend's garden where I just walked around like a deer, bent down and ate a little tomato over there, ate some kale over here, just eating leaves off the ground. And that was very, you know, very satisfying actually. So these microgreens, they're inexpensive, they grow fast. Anybody can grow them in their house, in their apartment, even with fluorescent lights. And they're many times more nutritious than their larger adult counterparts. I just feel bad about eating the babies, but I'm going to go get me some baby greens after this of many varieties, and I'm going to supercharge my health.
There's a lot of evidence, like with the seeds, you know, they're like little like information banks waiting, you know, and then the sunlight and the water, they like activate life. They start turning on the digital Noah's archive to become the thing that they want to be, you know.
Digital Noah's archive.
That's the one.
Noah's archive. Digital Noah's archive.
So that's kind of that funny thing about the pocket monsters, is it's all about like DNA and mutation and everything to that effect. I was wondering what you would have done if you could have invented your own monster.
Wow. Yeah, I think if I was going to invent a monster, it would be a monster that's just an eye. It's a third eye. Maybe it's just like a hovering thing. Maybe it has a leg to stand on with an eye. No, that's that Disney character. That Disney eye thing, you know, just a thing like that. And it has the power to imagine. Its attack is imagination, and
Wow.
it imagines a way around whatever is being thrown at it. It imagines a solution. I don't know.
I like it.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm going to guitar to perform with Video Games Live, which is the longest running orchestra tour in history. I think they've done about 400 shows. They also have a set list of like 181, 100 something like that, selections that they play. Started by this super genius Tommy Tallarico, who now owns the Intellivision game system from back in the day, which was my choice back when I was 11. I bought Intellivision. I had ColecoVision, that was Pong. Intellivision was the next one, Atari and Intellivision. And he's revamping it now. So anyway, he's an amazing dude there. But there's this orchestra that goes around and plays video game music from all your favorite video games, Final Fantasy, Zelda, with giant orchestras, and the music is brilliant. And I also appear with them singing the Pokemon theme song, and they've been performing all around the world for 19 years or something like that. So it's a consolidation of all the people that have listened to Pokemon theme song, gamers, but they don't know that I'm going to appear. So it's a surprise at the end of the show of when they play the Pokemon game music, and then I come out and sing the theme, and people lose their minds pretty much.
Awesome.
Beautiful multimedia event with screens and playing the games. Great video from all of the evolution of the game. So it goes from the beginning of Zelda to the end. They see the evolution of the CGI and the evolution of the music too, from the bleeps and blips to the full wonderful orchestra scores that happen. And it's an incredible experience. If you happen to be in Qatar come on down.
You know, you just mentioned that you'd played in television, and I was going to wonder, like, when you were about that age, like, what are the things, like, what are like the comics or like the fantasy like worlds that were really impactful?
The fantasy worlds that were impactful. Certainly that video game experience was a fantasy world that was impactful. Although it wasn't much of a fantasy because it was a reality in front of me. My mind wandered. I wrote songs at a very young age, or at least I borrowed words from the English language and assembled them with a bit of the 12-tone scale, and then I called it a song. I didn't copyright it or try to own that borrowed material until later in my life. I guess I was music. You know, I got into my parents' stack of records, and I was Columbia Records and tape subscribers. Nice. And actually, so that must have come from a comic book, because I remember ordering off the back of the comic book and just choosing by the title the music that I thought I wanted. And that was really my influences came from that, which is kind of bizarre.
No, it's great.
And Stevie Wonder, Elton John, Billy Joel. These are the things that were lying around in my house and that I could purchase through the Columbia Records and Tape Club.
Expand your own imagination through sound. I mean, that's, the doorway.
I think also I did a lot of doodling in my books in school, which I absolutely hated and wanted to get out of all the time. And, didn't realize how abusive it was until just recently in my recent research about education and where it comes from and why it happens and why it was the way it was. The prison of school was the way it was. And
you want to go into that? That might be a great thing to express, like the controlling of the imagination.
Yeah, it's all about dampening the imagination. I mean, that's the respecting authority, diminishing the imagination, and keeping everybody in their place, basically, dividing everyone into their classes, which is why they're called classes, and diminishing the imagination by even if there is something that you're interested in 40 minutes, there's a bell that goes off and you have to forget it and be shuffled somewhere else. And you must ask for permission for everything that you do, to speak, to go to the bathroom. And it's just, I think what ultimately it is whenever there's a large group of people with a like mind, and that doesn't mean of good mind. That just means of like mind. They all fold in together. Like the group absorbs the mental path of newcomers. So when you get into a new culture, eventually you get absorbed into that culture. So we're absorbed into this idea that we're supposed to go to school completely and totally in this country. So we all just do it without even thinking about it. I mean, I didn't think about it until a couple of years ago, really, when I found some research that said this is why this is what public education is all about. It's like seeing the clamp that you were circumcised with, if you were circumcised. You see the clamp and you're like, wait a second, how does that thing go on my genitals? I can't even imagine you would put that thing on my genitals, and then what happened after that is ridiculous. So now through John Taylor Gatto, who just recently passed, one of the pioneers of uncovering the public data that's available in every library about the intentions of public education and compulsory schooling and how it's meant to do all of these things, limit the imagination, end adolescence, take the child out of the family, put him into a government sort of indoctrination, have him pledge allegiance to the state every morning, sometimes multiple times. It wasn't until I discovered John Taylor Gatto that I saw the clamp of public education, and then I started seeing what it did to my mind, just like when I saw the clamp of my circumcision, understanding what it did to my genitals. So then I can look at my genitals and go, oh, that little hole that I have in my skin that I thought was just a birth defect that I can put an earring through isn't a birth defect. It's from that clamp. It's from that 360-degree cut that they made with this clamp that they ripped and pried the head away from the foreskin without anesthesia in the back of a catering hall with a little bit of wine, because my parents thought it was a good thing to do.
Tartary.
Yeah. So now when I see the clamp of the education system, and I see how it's intended to diminish, I can see how I am still behaving in a way that I was conditioned to behave by that system, which is the respect for authority, which is right out here on the street. I'm not allowed to go right there in front of that bus. There's nobody else walking, and there's no reason I can't walk from there to there right now, except for that government checkpoint right there and the camera right there that will be seeing me. And at some point, somebody could actually come and
on a Segway in LA
and ask me to pay them money because I walked in a place where there was a checkpoint and I didn't respect authority. So like, we're all behaving in this way in the society because we've been folded into this collective, and we're losing our individuality. That's really the battle between the collective and the individual is at the end of this. And the collective is something that I believe is it doesn't it's just a group. It's like it doesn't exist without the individuals. So when we have to see ourselves as individuals instead of just a part of this mass blob that can be controlled. The individual can't be controlled. His mind, his imagination, his creativity, all of his things that he can make and invent out of nothing is just, that can't be, we can't have that. So that has to be suppressed so that we can be in this blob that's easier to manage and easier to, you know, to stop, to get to stop at all of these checkpoints every 100 yards, which are everywhere, all of our lives. Another checkpoint. Can't go. You're not allowed to go. Let them tell you when you can go. And it appears that in lower income and places where they want people to move slower, they just turn the lights on for longer so that they have to wait longer. So there's a certain percentage of your life that you're actually standing there waiting for them to let you go to the other side of the street on your corner in your neighborhood. You got to wait. And if they want you to wait longer, they just turn it up. And that's another year off of your life waiting for them to say, yeah, you can go. Can I go to the bathroom? Like, yeah, just wait. The teacher just waits. And then finally, yes, Jason. Can you go to the bathroom? Nope, not right now.
You had me at non-consensual genital mutilation of children, of infants, as a metaphor for education. That might be the best metaphor I've heard so far.
Yeah, kind of. The mental circumcision is what's happened to us. It's just the clamp is a little more complicated and harder to uncover. But if you read John Taylor Gatto, he shows you the sharp edge of it and how it's obvious. I mean, you can it's just written by the framers of our educational system and why they wanted to do that. And all of this kind of makes me curious as to why this is all happening on such a large scale for centuries. Like, okay, we've got the power structure, but then there's so many people in the middle ground that can see that this is happening and they don't do anything either. And then there's all this energy that's lost from it. And like, are there like other dimensional energies that are controlling this whole game to keep us in this place? Or is it just the way that the human being works and wanting to hoard and wanting to be in control and powerful and rich? And, you know,
part of the one I like recently, you know, the Tartaria mud flood conspiracy is that all of the people that you're talking about who've been hiding information don't completely understand. Maybe they now do, but they don't completely understand it, or they didn't when they got it from whomever Atlantis was before it or whatever. So it's like, yeah, they've got these pyramids and they've got, you know, but they don't really know how to make Tesla towers work. Or if they did, they figured it out recently. It took them a couple 100 years or 400 years of just messing around with it and hiding it from us.
So that's another interdimensional being, or that's a literal extraterrestrial being?
Well, it could be, that's the beauty. It could be anything.
Either.
It's just Atlantis was civilized. It could have been aliens. It could have been fancy technology. It could have been spirits from luminaries. Like, it's kind of broad, which is nice because there's all kinds of people.
Yeah, it could be knowledge, just basically knowledge.
Yeah, and misunderstood knowledge from somebody else. Not that they actually, not their own, you know?
Right. Right. I saw the Tesla coil at Burning Man. It was pretty cool. It was one of the coolest things.
Totally. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it works.
And it works. They're right. It works. And they're getting it together now. Yeah. I kind of like that idea that, you know, it could be many, many things. It could be in our dream state where, you know, it all goes down there and we just haven't invested in figuring out how to use it yet. And we can go to sleep and get all this knowledge, perhaps.
Seems like that's the best answer, is like to make it at least somehow with art. You know, I call upon you, Jason, make more music about it. That's the way it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. It's all in the dream state. 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 It's yeah, it really is.
Thanks so much, man.
You're welcome, sir. I'll see you on the other side. On the other side.
Recent Tartarians.
On the other side.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
What's this thing called?
We're kind of going with the recent Tartarians. I'm getting the idea.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.